Hi crafters, today I'm introducing you to my silver reed knitting machine. If you've ever been curious about machine knitting, this is the perfect place to start. Enjoy! This particular knitting machine is a silver reed SK280 knitting machine, which is a standard gauge punch card knitting machine designed for creating fine to lightweight knitted fabrics. It features 200 needles with a 4.5 millimeter needle spacing, making it ideal for fingering, baby, sport, and lightweight DK yarns. One of its standard features is the 24-stitch punch card system, which allows knitters to create beautiful patterned fabrics such as fair isle, tuck stitch, slip stitch, weaving, punch lace, and motif designs. Unlike electronic knitting machines, the SK20 is fully mechanical and uses physical punch cards to control pattern selection, which many knitters appreciate for its reliability and hands-on feel. It is known for smooth operation, durability, versatility, making it popular among both beginners and experienced machine knitters. The machine comes in one piece and it has its own case. I just happen to have opened up mine. Then there's the label, silver reed, the case, and then it reveals the body or the needle bed of the machine. Then our case has different accessories. Just open this up. So we have our tension mast, our mast itself. Then we have this attachment which is part of the carriage. Start off, we have our yarn mast. This is a tall metal rod. This is used in the assembly and it is used. Then next we have tension mast. This one has a bit of two tension discs. This control the tension of your yarn. It also has guides. These guides feed your yarn into your machine. Several guides over here. The next attachment is the sinker plate. Our sinker plate is attached to our carriage. Our carriage is over there. So we're going to attach this to our carriage and it will help us to knit. Our sinker plate has a yarn feeder. Is the yarn feeder, and this particular brand you can have two yarns feeding into your machine. So it's labeled 1 and 2. Then we have brush wheels and brushes. These are our brushes over here and our brush wheels on the side. This helps to control stitches and keep needles moving smoothly. Then we have side arms, these red things on the side. These ones are used to keep and to help stabilize the plate on the machine. Then we also have our locking mechanism or attach hook. As we are attaching our sinker plate to the carriage, this is where you lock in your sinker plate to the carriage. Then lastly, we have this mechanism over here. This is just used to lock your first yarn and separate it from the second. Now let's take a closer look at our machine and needle bed. We mentioned the carriage. The carriage is the moving part of the machine and it has a handle. This is basically used to move the carriage across the machine bed. Then this is where our sinker plate would go typically. Just illustrate that in a bit. And usually your carriage is locked into the machine knitting bed, the needle bed. This is it's open. This is just for easy carrying and moving around of your machine so that you don't have the carriage moving about. There it is. I'm trying to move it, but I'll still show you how it goes. So this is where I would attach my sinker plate. Like so. Then screw these parts in. Then feed my yarn goes up to 1 or 2. Our carriage also has this big circular disc. It's bigger than the other attachments on our tension mask. So this is another control, and it controls the tension of your yarn as you're knitting, depending on the weight of the yarn and what kind of feel you want with your knitted project. So the tensions are from 0 up to 10. Then it has a selector. This is used to select the different styles or mode of yarn that you want to use. So we have slip stitch, we have tuck, we have fair isle, we have weaving, all those. So you just move this to select how you want to stitch it. Let's say you want to stitch fair isle with the punch cards. You'll actually have to put this mode on the fair isle option. The carriage also has several levers. We have levers over here, then we have another lever over here. Basically these two levers also perform the different functions. Like these ones are used to hold stitches. I know it's an interesting terminology, but let's say you're stitching you're knitting your neckline and you need to hold your stitches probably on the left side as you work on the right side to finish your shoulder or neckline. So you need to hold your stitches. That is a function of these levers. Rustle levers is this one, this one. They both perform different functions. So lastly, we have this metal attachment on our carriage. This hits our row counter over here. Then as it hits back and forth, we're able to account and tell the number of rows that we have. So as you're knitting, you don't really need to keep counting. You've made 20 rows and so on. The machine does it for you by moving your carriage back and forth across the needle bed. The next part of our machine, as I've mentioned, is the row counter, and it goes to 999. So you can imagine knitting 999 rows, but this is pretty useful. I'll just continue counting up to 10, 11, 100, and so on. This particular circular disc is used to help us control our punch card. These are punch cards. As I mentioned, our machine is a manual punch card machine. Punch cards have different designs that you want to create for your project. Usually they come with the attachments, the punch card and the punch card manual, so that you're able to see what design you want to make and pick it from your punch card library. So since mine is pre-loved, doesn't come with its original punch cards, I had this made. Different patterns, so there are so many. So this punch card actually goes into the punch card holder. This punch card holder, it's like a template that reads the patterns on the machine. That is the holes. Then these holes will be transferred into the design of your knitted product. So let me explain that again. You have your pattern over here. Like I have a sort of, I would say, snowflake sort of design. So if I put this in my punch card holder, this punch card holder will read the holes and then it will translate to my carriage. I've already picked fair isle. Then as I'm knitting with the different colors, this machine will be able to change different colors and create the patterns depending on the punch card I'm using. The way you put it in, and usually we finish the ends or we close up the ends with a punch card holder again. So it will have our punch card going round and round, so I don't need to keep counting how far my pattern has gone to. So this thing goes round like a film, then it creates the patterns on my machine. So this is the way it would be. If I move this, you see it's feeding our punch card. So as I start knitting, I'm going to move this and then secure the ends of my punch card like that, so that as I knit, no matter the number of rows, my design still is created flawlessly. So you can also lock your punch card. That is how I've locked it. And if you can see from this, These attachments form a pattern depending on the row my punch card is on. So if you see your machine looking like this means it's locked. So you'll keep knitting, but the design will not be created. Then to unlock it, it's the way you do it. So you move it again, creates a different pattern. The next row, a different one. So this is just the way our machine reads our punch card. Then you roll it on when you're done and take it out. So I have different punch cards. You can also design your own punch cards. You just need to buy the punch card paper and have your punch card stapler that will make the holes, and then you have your own pattern, even writing your names, people's names, and so on. So we've talked about that other side of our machine, and we've not talked about the main part of our machine, which is the needle bed. So the needle bed holds our different needles, as I mentioned before, 200 needles and so on, depending on the size, and they have clear labels, 10, 8, 7, 6, so on, up to the middle of your knitting bed. This is used to guide you to show how big your project will be or how small. So this is always the center point. Let's say your project measures 50 stitches. So the instructions may read, cast on 50 stitches from point 0 to the left and 50 stitches from point 0 to the right. They call them needle positions. So you'll find the pattern written NS, 50 NS, 50 NS, left or right. So our needle is just a standard knitting needle. It has its hook, it has the closure or a latch. So this is just used to hold your stitches. Then we also have this attachment that is used to just assist you in knitting. Our attachment is known as the carriage rails. This just helps your carriage to glide smoothly over the needle bed. You can also switch up your needles, and there's an attachment called a sponge bar down here. So basically the sponge bar is the one that holds down our needles. If you take it out, your needles will go up, up, up. It's actually in between this place. Then we have numbering on the side of our machine, A, B, C, D. So this just reads different positions for your needle. You have them at point A, that means they're in work. So when you knit across, it will just move smoothly. When you move it to point B, it will still knit. But if your rustle levers are at hold, it will not stitch. So A, B, C, D, they all mean different things. And we have this part of our machine. It's a rarely used part unless someone is really proficient at it. So let's say I'm again knitting a sweater and I want to use an actual pattern, like pattern drafting, drafted pattern. This is where I would put my pattern and I will use it as a guide in stitching. That is, as you stitch, as you knit, this something moves. So if I were to move my carriage this way, this thing will just continue moving. So all these attachments just help you to be able to draft, to knit an actual drafted pattern for your project. Your knitting machine will also come with accessories, and it's labeled there, accessories. So accessories are just basically the tools you need to make your knitting easier. We have a set of brushes over here, but this is for another type of knitting. Then we have these weights, claw weights, because they have the claw at the end. So you hook this on your project. You can have as many as you'd like. This is just to hold down your project so that the threads do not get tangled. Then you also have these attachments. These ones are used to hold down your machine. So they go to the sides of your machine, and they hold your machine onto the table. These are the clamps. Clamps hold down your machine on the table. Remember, you're doing it manually. So there may be a point you have to use a lot of force, and you wouldn't want your knitting machine to fall off the table. So this is what is used to hold them. These are just other types of attachment that you place on your knitting machine. Again, when you're trying out a different kind of knitting, you use these ones, same as these ones. We have our holders. This is to hold our punch card. So you place them on the sides and put them in. I have so many of them. Then we have our flat hook. Have another one. Then there are other things known as transfer tools. Transfer tools are used to transfer your stitches from one needle or another, or to several needles. This one has one on one end and two. This is 1 and 3, 2 and 3. So you can actually hold 3 stitches at once and move them to 3 other needles. Then it also comes with a brush. This brush just helps you open up your needles. Let me demonstrate that better. If I need to close them, I don't need to do it manually. It might end up being pricked. If I need to open, close, then open. Okay, like let's say you're casting on, you need to have your needles open. So this is where this tool comes in handy. We also have spare needles. Like I mentioned, your needles might end up being blunt or they may bend, so you need this spare needles to replace them. You may also get your oil. We still need to oil our machine. It's full of many moving parts, so oiling your machines makes it easier to stitch, makes your project to come out perfect, not too tight tension, just the workings of moving parts. We also have spare brushes over here, so in case your different parts get damaged, you have this replacement. Like I mentioned before, an original and new knitting machine will come with a manual. In my case, I don't have the manual, but you can still access them online, and they are very, very simple and easy to follow along and use. They will actually show you how to assemble your knitting machine, how to cast on, how to cast off, and they also have just a few basic patterns to get you started on knitting. On the next tutorial, I'll actually show you how to assemble your knitting machine. This particular one is an SK370, and I mentioned before about the SK280. They are interchangeable, it's just that they have slight differences. As I mentioned again, my machine is pre-loved, so the attachments that it didn't come with, for example, it didn't have a manual. Manual helps you to set up your machine, how to assemble it, how to care for it, that is cleaning, oiling, and so on. It also gives you recommendations on your yarn weights and the tension you should use. In addition, also it gives you basic instructions on how to knit simple garments. So you just follow through these instructions and you'll be fine. So this I mean by ways of casting on your yarn. Also how to start with your ribbing, how to change the different modes, tension as I have said, and so on. Then it also comes with the punch card designs. So I don't have the privilege of having a manual, but you can still find them online, and they are pretty easy and accessible. Another attachment from our accessories is this one. It actually helps you to select the number of needles that you want. So this is a 2x2. So just place it there and then push my needles like so. So this has chosen 2x1, 2x1. So they are different. One side 2x1, the other side 2x2. Another attachment that I don't have is a cast-on comb. A cast-on comb is used to hold your stitches and give weight as you're knitting. It's basically a long metal that has hooks, just the way our claw weights look like, and it can actually run the whole length of your knitting machine, holding your stitches down. I also don't have a ribber. A ribber just looks the same way our machine looks at this point, but it goes perpendicular to this side, and it is used to make your ribbing, different types of ribbing. You can make ribbing on this one, but a ribber just makes it easier. Thank you for watching this tutorial up to the very end. I hope you've enjoyed learning the different parts of a knitting machine. I hope it's not as daunting as it looked before. I'll make more tutorials on how to make different parts and different kinds of garments on your knitting machine. Please let me know what you think of this tutorial, and please remember to support my channel by liking, commenting, subscribing and sharing. See you on the next one, craft.